Okay, I am currently moving across the country, but I still got to get these fantasy football drafts in. I told you we would do a fantasy football draft on this live stream every single day until the season starts. So, we are not going to change that. Let's go through and let's hop into a draft right now. And here we are going to be drafting from the 110. So we are going to get some 110 fantasy football draft strategy underway. And I will say, very comfortable with this draft spot. I mean, I've been selecting at the end of the first for I don't know how long now. We will probably surprise some people, but all I ask is if you are new to the channel, if you have not seen too many of these drafts before, please stick with us through 10 rounds and listen to the explanation behind every pick. What's nice is because we're not live, I am not going to have to kind of hide what I'm thinking. I'm not going to have to say, okay, well, I don't want DeAndre Swift, even though I'm hoping that he ends up falling to us and so on. Of course, that's just an example. And here you have Jonathan Taylor off the board. With Jonathan Taylor off the board, you should assume that he goes to the 101 almost every single time. If we get a video where we are going through our strategy from the first pick overall, you better believe we are going to go through, take Jonathan Taylor. Has an incredibly high floor and ceiling combination. It's hard to make an argument against it, even though you will see once you're at the 2-3 turn, the wide receivers that are available there are honestly pretty gross. I mean, you're looking at someone like A.J. Brown compared to the running backs in that range. You have Nick Chubb. You have Alvin Kamara sometimes making it to the 2-3 turn. You have Leonard Fournette. So it honestly is more comfortable to take those wide receivers early. You see Cooper Kupp going off the board at the 102. This is a very standard start so far. This is almost, I want to say, the most common start you are going to see in 2022 fantasy football drafts. Really, you should see some combination of Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase within the first 5 picks every single time. I'm coming more and more around based on the running back value that's available to you at the very beginning of round 3. I'm coming around to the idea of pushing Christian McCaffrey down to the 5 spot. I know that sounds crazy. Obviously, CMC has an elite level ceiling, and if you fade Christian McCaffrey and he turns back into 90% of what he was in 2019, you will lose money this season. You will be in a horrible spot. I will admit that. Eckler goes to the 106. The 6th pick is where you start to see some people go in different ways. And 6, I think you could see Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry. Sometimes I go real crazy with it, but we're not going to do that in this draft. So at 10, maybe our strategy changes here a little bit. Nope, Derrick Henry off the board. We are going with our initial plan. We used to be able to take Travis Kelce, honestly, at a cheaper price point. Kelce's one of my most popular picks in the first round this upcoming season. If you're looking at the overall roster construction you get with Travis Kelce, where we can almost assume, I don't want to say he's a lock to be the tight end 1. Mark Andrews is right there with him. I have a ton of Mark Andrews as well. But we can assume that Travis Kelce is the most likely tight end to be the tight end 1 overall finish this upcoming season. And there are only 5 guys that even have it in their range of outcomes between Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, and Darren Waller. And I would argue, based on the overall opportunity available in this offense in Kansas City, that maybe Kelce should be in his own tier. I don't want to necessarily go that far, but now we are on the clock here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Joe Mixon. The reason for this is the wide receiver tier drop-off that you're finding after CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams. It's very hard for me to go through and to take Deebo Samuel when you have the overall offensive line upgraded for Joe Mixon here. So Joe Mixon, pick 15. Honestly, going to lock it in. I think this is a running back that if you look at his overall workload last season, combined with the improvements in his offensive line, this team went out there and signed 3 premier offensive linemen and went out there and got Hayden Hurst, the primary blocking tight end, significantly better at blocking than what you had with CJ Uzomah. I'm excited about Mixon now. It is worrisome not having a wide receiver through the first 2 rounds, especially on Underdog. On Underdog, you're going to see that these wide receivers tend to fly up draft boards, but how we are going to be able to build around this start is we are going to be able to hammer wide receivers in the middle rounds, and we are only going to have to draft 2 tight ends. We are only going to have to draft 5 running backs, and you better believe we are targeting Patrick Mahomes at the 3-4 turn. Probably going to end up coming away with Mahomes at the beginning of the 4th, depending on what's available to us in the 3rd, and then we only have to draft 2 quarterbacks as well. And real quick, if you go, Mason, I'm tired of seeing these drafts every single day on this channel. How do I get in these drafts with you? Very simple. Go to the description of the video. Go to the comment section. There'll be a link to Underdog Fantasy. Over there on Underdog Fantasy, you can get the real money fantasy football drafts every single day. I am in there. I am out there grinding. I'm probably going to do over 300, 400 of these drafts this offseason because I think it's probably the most fun thing you could ever do. And it's a ton of fun to do it on the live stream as well. So you're going to have a ton of opportunities to get in with us. Like I said, we're doing these every single day. I mean, we are moving across the country right now, and I'm recording this in advance so we can get one out because I know how much y'all love them. But now at the turn, what we really like to see is we like to see that team at the 101 Eagles go back-to-back running backs here with Nick Chubb and Javonte Williams. Honestly, that makes me feel a lot more confident with our selection of Joe Mixon compared to the wide receivers in that range with Deebo Samuel and Mike Evans, because if you're looking at Mixon and the tier drop-off that we are going to be seeing at running back with our next pick, I mean, the best player available is most likely going to end up being someone like James Conner, maybe Ezekiel Elliott. I honestly think Mixon is in a completely different tier than those players. And if we look at the wide receivers that will be available to us, I mean, we can just pull up this list right now. I don't think the gap is as large as what you're going to be seeing with someone like Deebo Samuel, but holy crap. Alvin Kamara made it all the way to the 306. Since 2017, I don't think I've ever seen Alvin Kamara make the pick 30. For Alvin Kamara to make it a pick 30 is absolutely ridiculous. Waddle goes at the 308. Kyle Pitts goes to pick 33. I was wondering if we were going to turn this into a bully tight end draft. Obviously, we're not doing it now. And how I go through and look at this is if we were to take, say, DJ Moore, the gap between DJ Moore and Diontae Johnson isn't going to be massive for me. So sometimes I wait until the beginning of the fourth. I really push the envelope to see if we get Patrick Mahomes making it back to us. I don't love the idea of taking James Conner. I really think we need a wide receiver here at the 3-4 turn. And when we have Waddle already off the board, I'm not going to be reaching on any of these guys. I think they're all in a very similar tier. Just hopefully we don't get stuck with Courtland Sutton. Please, please, please. Actually, I'll say, even if Sutton is available, we weren't taking him. He goes at the 401 regardless. And maybe we are in a position where we don't grab a receiver. Maybe we just end up drafting James Conner and throwing out our initial draft strategy. Okay. Clueless is on here. He's gone Lamb, Adams, and Hollywood to start. I'm assuming that he is going to try to build around that Arizona Cardinals stack with Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown. If I were him, I probably would look to go James Conner. I don't know what he's going to do. He goes James Conner. So yeah, we are going to go ahead. We are going to get Diontae Johnson. That was our initial plan. I mean, if you were looking at the gap between Diontae Johnson and DJ Moore, well, in my opinion, it's non-existent. I think they're in the same tier. So when we're going into that turn, I really want to look at that overall wide receiver room and go, okay, well, if we pass on Jalen Waddle here and we end up getting Diontae Johnson, are we upset by that? If the answer is yes, we probably should go Jalen Waddle and assume that Patrick Mahomes makes it back to us in the 4th round. But I'm not upset passing on DJ Moore and instead getting Diontae Johnson. They're the same for me. So that's why we go Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd, even though in a lot of these drafts, I'm waiting to get Patrick Mahomes in the 4th. But you have Ezekiel Elliott, Jerry Jeudy going directly after us. This draft hasn't had too many surprises. I mean, if we go through it, if we look at some unique builds, I guess we have a very balanced roster where we have one player across every single position. Outside of that, Pint, I believe that's how you say their name. They go with a 0 running back build so far. They've taken 3 wide receivers in a row and grabbed Darren Waller in the 4th. I love getting that elite level tight end based on how it unlocks the 2-6-8-2 roster construction for you. I mean, I love being able to build around 8 wide receivers and 6 running backs and punt those running backs down the road and hope that we get some injuries in our favor. And we end up getting to be the guy that, hell, drafted James Robinson in round 10, round 11 before Travis Etienne goes down for the season. And then you were just printing money as an example from last year. But now you have Etienne going at pick 44. Travis Etienne's been a steady riser in these drafts. Allen Robinson at pick 45. I honestly think that's probably a little bit too rich for Allen Robinson compared to some of the other wide receiver names that would be available. Let's see where this Josh Allen team takes it. I was surprised to see them take Josh Allen at pick 22. I mean, I've been drafting Josh Allen a ton in the 3rd because with Allen here, he's falling into that category of quarterback that you take him, then hell, you're done. Wipe your hands. You only have to grab one more guy a little bit later on. But to take him at the beginning of the 2nd, I personally don't understand. Same thing here with Gabriel Davis at pick 46. I understand you want to go through, you want to get the Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis spike weeks to get that stack. However, I mean, why don't you take Kittle there, pick 46? There's still a ton of other wide receivers available on the board. Assume that Gabriel Davis makes it back to you at pick 51. But let's see where they go with this next one. They're just queuing up their guys. Terry McLaurin, pick 51. At this point, we probably still need wide receivers to make it back to us. On Underdog, you have to start 3 wide receivers. And with the fact that it is going to be best ball, I mean, you are getting an advantage if you can just stack depth on depth on depth. So hopefully we get some wide receivers making it to us. Usually at the 5-6 turn, I'm looking to grab a wide receiver and pair that wide receiver up with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has been one of my favorite picks in the 6th round, as he was last year. I mean, it's ridiculous. Utterly absurd to see Josh Jacobs going in round 6, to get David Montgomery sometimes falling to you at the end of the 5th, which is why I'm willing to pass on those running backs early on, which is why I'm willing to pass on Najee Harris. I'm willing to pass on usually someone like Dalvin Cook in favor of Travis Kelce, because the running back value that you get in round 5, round 6 of these drafts, ridiculous. It should never happen. But Lamar goes at the 504. Good for us. I mean, I love me some Lamar Jackson, but it would have been very difficult for us to take Lamar Jackson on a Patrick Mahomes team. We really want these quarterbacks going. I mean, if we could get a Kyler Murray pick before our next, allowing someone like Chris Godwin to potentially fall to us, I would love that. Amari Cooper is still available as well. So Jalen Hurts goes at pick 53. Great. I mean, I thought it was going to be Kyler. It looks like it's Hurts instead. I will say, if you're taking a quarterback and you don't have one of their passing game options, I probably would lean in favor of Jalen Hurts over Kyler Murray, given the rushing upside that you have. But if you have Hollywood, if you're planning on grabbing DeAndre Hopkins later on, obviously you are going to prefer to go out there and grab Kyler Murray. Now, it looks like we need to sweat this one out. I would love Godwin. I would love David Montgomery here. Either one of those players. I'm honestly not going to be jumping up and down with joy to take Rashad Bateman at pick 58. I mean, if we're looking at Rashad Bateman compared to some of the other wide receivers that would be available in the 6th, it's not a big gap. But you know what? Both of those guys are available to us. We are going to go ahead and we are going to get Chris Godwin, because I think the drop-off from Godwin to someone like Darnell Mooney, Michael Thomas, is going to be larger than the drop-off we would have from David Montgomery to Josh Jacobs in particular. So we are going to get Chris Godwin. While, yes, you have to worry about him missing the potential first 3-4 weeks of the season, keep in mind, this is that Underdog tournament where it's a $5 buy-in, $75,000 to first. First place gets paid, second place gets paid, and a small percentage of every league pot is set aside for the tournament at the very end. And hell, we want to have the highest ceiling possible for that tournament at the very end of the season. If Chris Godwin misses the first 3 weeks, which would put him on a 9-month timetable for that 20-day sale, he's a young wide receiver. I think he can come back in 9 months. He doesn't even miss a single week with all our other players on bye. So I think we'd be completely fine. And there's a small chance we end up getting Montgomery instead of Josh Jacobs. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're probably still going to get Jacobs. Brandon Cooks goes at pick 61. Okay. In Clueless goes Kyler Murray. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to grab David Montgomery at the beginning of the 6th round. This is why I am trying to convince y'all, pass on running backs early where you can. Pass on running backs early where you can. I mean, if I knew we were getting David Montgomery in the 6th round, I honestly maybe would have said, you know what? We don't need Mixon at pick 13. You know what? I love me some Joe Mixon, but here we're getting Montgomery in the 6th. I mean, Josh Jacobs still available. A.J. Dillon goes before Josh Jacobs. That's very surprising. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, with Montgomery, yeah, he's in a bad offense, but this is a running back that's going to get every single touch, and he's going to get the targets out of the backfield as well. Okay, so AJK on the board. This is the team that went with the value of Amari Cooper in the 5th. Now they grab Josh Jacobs. Oh, dear God. Let me point out this roster. I love this team that they selected from the 6th spot. I would like it a lot more if they, instead of getting Austin Eckler in the 1st, went with a Stephon Diggs. But anyway, you go through Mike Williams in the 2nd. I hate it. I hate Mike Williams in the 2nd. Maybe I spoke too soon. But if we are looking at what they have done through the last 4 rounds, Alvin Kamara, pick 30. Justin Herbert, pick 43. Amari Cooper, pick 54. Josh Jacobs, pick 67. Oh my gosh, I'm loving what they're doing. That is fantastic. I mean, starting yourself off with Kamara at pick 30, that is ridiculous. I'm sure if they could go back in a time machine, they probably prefer Diggs in the first, they'd go with DeAndre Swift in the second, and then Alvin Kamara in the third. But, I mean, they got that Justin Herbert stack, so maybe that's what they were planning on the entire time. Okay, so DeAndre Hopkins ends up going at pick 70. So we only have 2 wide receivers so far. But whenever we started with 2 quality running backs in the combination of Joe Mixon and David Montgomery, we have an elite quarterback in Mahomes. We have an elite tight end in Travis Kelce. I'm planning on only drafting 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and 5 running backs. That's going to open up 9 roster spots for wide receivers for us. So half this team is going to be built through the wide receiver position. And with best ball, where you don't have to submit your starting lineup every single week, it's automatically done for you at the end of every week. Hell, having those volatile wide receivers and attacking the position with quantity over quality sometimes will work out. But Equals goes through and takes Treylon Burks at pick 72. Treylon Burks has been a player I've seen falling as of late. Adam Thielen goes to pick 73. Very standard turn there. And what are we hoping for? Gibson's still on the board. We're hoping that Antonio Gibson, we're hoping that Clyde Edwards-Helaire go. And I know that some people would say, oh, well, Mason, you really want the Kansas City Chiefs stack. You really want to get the Kansas City Chiefs stack with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes. Honestly, I'm not dying to get that double stack. I'd be completely fine just with Mahomes and Kelce. I think a lot of these other Chiefs players, their ADP is pushed up just slightly. But the question that we have is, if we have the falling knife in Antonio Gibson making it to us all the way at pick 82, are we taking him? If we have Joe Burrow making it to us at pick 82, are we going out of our way and are we taking him? I will say I probably want it. Take one of these quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, like Dak Prescott, because keep in mind, we could get the Joe Burrow correlation with Joe Mixon. We could get the Tom Brady correlation with Chris Godwin. And look at the teams on the turn here. You have Clueless with Kyler Murray. They can't go back-to-back quarterbacks. At the most, they could only take one of those guys. I guess Splath, if that's his name, he could go ahead and he could take 2 guys. Brady goes at pick 80. So if Burrow is there for us, we are going to go ahead and take Joe Burrow. If not, we're fine. Do we have to take freaking Sky Moore? Nope, we don't have to take Sky Moore. Someone please take Sky Moore. We're going to go Joe Burrow, pick 82. We are going to bring in 2 elite level quarterbacks. Usually when you take Mahomes in the 4th, you're not looking to grab a second one this early, but Joe Burrow usually goes at pick 68. We just grabbed the man at 82, so I'm going to be fine with it. Now our next pick, 87. We definitely can't go Hawkinson. We have to start to bring in some of these players that can make an impact at wide receiver. Sky Moore's the obvious pick here whenever we do have Mr. Patrick Mahomes to bring in the double stack. I love Sky Moore as a prospect. Sky Moore checks every single box that you'd be looking at. Now the issue is we are paying a massive premium for the man. I mean, if you're looking at Sky Moore, this is a wide receiver that's coming out of Western Michigan, goes in the late second in the NFL draft, and now we are taking him as wide receiver 41 over someone like Lockett, who has had a top 24 wide receiver finish every single season over the past 3. Now, of course, it's because of the situation he's in. Of course, it's because he's in Kansas City there. I do think we will have to take Sky Moore over Hawkinson. They go Kenneth Walker. Yeah, so let's fire up Sky Moore to bring in the double stack with Mahomes. It makes sense from a roster construction standpoint. We're not reaching on it. You do have Sky Moore going behind his ADP here, but I'm still not happy. Now, I will say what I am happy about is these quarterbacks finally going off the board. When you have the combination of Joe Burrow, when you have the combination of Burrow and Mahomes, you need to see these QBs going. So getting Matthew Stafford, getting Dak Prescott off at pick 88 and 89, exactly what we were looking for, exactly what we need. Tony Pollard goes pick 90. Honestly, at this point, I feel like we have a very balanced roster. We kind of need wide receiver. We kind of need running back. Quarterback, obviously, we're done. We're done at QB. Tight end, we kind of need. We at least need a second one. Hawkinson falls all the way to pick 92. I love that value you're getting with Hawkinson. Someone that was being drafted next to Mark Andrews last season. Now, of course, with Hawkinson, this is a player that's in a bad situation this upcoming year. Not only does he have to compete for targets with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who broke out at the end of the season, but they also gave DJ Chark $10 million. They also went out there and drafted Jameson Williams in the middle of the first round. So yes, Hawkinson is in a much worse situation this upcoming season than what he was in last year. But still, he's a tight end on his rookie contract that has posted back-to-back top 10 finishes on a per-game basis at the position. Very rarely you're ever seeing a tight end on their rookie contract put up that kind of feat. Now, I will say, the situation holds him back, which is why you can't have him above someone like Dalton Schultz. Now, Chris Olave goes at the 8-11. Olave would have liked to have him coming back to us. I'll say Chris Olave, significantly better wide receiver over Sky Moore. Like, if I didn't have Patrick Mahomes here, I'm not taking Sky Moore. I honestly probably would have taken Tyler Lockett. Like, this just goes to speak on the fact that, hell, we took Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round. If you take Mahomes in the 4th round, you are going out of your way and you're betting, you're saying, okay, the Kansas City Chiefs exceed expectations. Mahomes is not only top 5, top 10 in the NFL in passing yards, he's top 3. And if that is the case, some of these guys have to be values in drafts. Sky Moore maybe isn't the wide receiver 40. Maybe instead he's the wide receiver 18. Okay. Russell Gage continuing to fall. Very interesting to see Gage fall. This is a wide receiver that got paid $30 million this past offseason. $30 million by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go play with Tom Brady. We took Chris Godwin, who's going to miss the beginning of the season. Of course, it's a pipe dream to ever assume that Russell Gage were to make it to 106. He goes to pick 100. It would have been really nice to see. Now, James Cook goes at 101. Allen Lazard's another example of a name that obviously the player himself does not warrant being selected here. You should not be putting Allen Lazard in the same tier as someone like Robert Woods, Christian Watson, but the situation does. I mean, you're looking at Allen Lazard as really the only Green Bay Packer receiver coming back with a significant role. I mean, you have not only Devontae Adams taking 30% of this team's target share, but you also have Marquez Valdes-Scantling gone. You're going to see a ton of routes open up for Allen Lazard. You're going to see a ton of targets as well. We know you want to be betting on wide receivers in offenses with elite quarterback play. For that reason, we are going to go ahead. We are going to take Allen Lazard here. Now, what we are hoping for is we are hoping that Christian Watson makes it back. The issue is if we look at the other wide receivers, we need a wide receiver here. Don't be mistaken. We need a wide receiver. It's very hard to have Robert Woods and Chris Godwin on the same team when they'll both miss the beginning of the season. It's very difficult to have Michael Gallup on the same team. It's very difficult to have Jameson Williams on the same team as someone like Chris Godwin. You need someone that's going to produce at the beginning of the year to cover up from those zeros you're going to be getting. Now, let's see what happens. I would love Watson to come back and we just kind of monopolize all those Green Bay Packers wide receiver targets. Let's cue this up. We cannot go Rodgers. Hopefully one of these teams goes Rodgers. The issue is if you see Splath go Rodgers, they're probably going to go, okay, well, let's get the stack. Let's take Christian Watson at the same time. Instead, they go Robert Woods. Good for us. I think Robert Woods is a great value here. It's just hard for us to draft him when we already took Godwin. Okay, someone take Rodgers. Please, someone take Rodgers. We can't take him. Get him off the board. He has an ADP of 103. We're sitting here at like pick 109. You're looking at Lance. Yeah, this team took Trey Lance to pick 85 and passes on. They took Trey Lance to pick 85 and they pass on Aaron Rodgers at pick 109. Y'all know I am a massive Lance fan. I've been the leader of the Trey Lance fan club. But that feels a little crazy to me. It does feel a little crazy. Okay. So Melvin Gordon ends up going. So we're going to continue to bring in wide receivers in elite offenses that we don't know if they're any good. We're going to go take Christian Watson here. I actually love this Christian Watson value at pick 111 if we're comparing the Sky Moore ADP versus Christian Watson. I mean, they're both in a very similar bucket. They're wide receivers that, hell, they probably don't deserve to be valued over someone like Jameson Williams if we're talking talent, of course, but just based on the situation that they are in and the spike weeks that they can provide. I really like double tapping both of these Green Bay Packers wide receivers on the turn. I'd imagine we have a little bit of a running back run happening. Actually, Melvin Gordon went at 110. Really like the Melvin Gordon pick as well. I just think whenever we have the combination of Mixon and David Montgomery, we're covered at running back. We're very, very good at running back. Let me go through and show off this team one more time, just in case y'all have missed out on what we've done so far. We took Kelsey for the elite tight end in the first. We got Mixon at pick 15, what I want to believe is a value. Patrick Mahomes to get the Kelsey stack in the third because we were looking at that tier of wide receivers that we had at the 3-4 turn. And I was saying, you know what? There's not that much of a gap between these players for me. Then we got Godwin at pick 58. David Montgomery somehow made it to the 6th round for us. We get Joe Burrow at 82. Wasn't the initial plan. I mean, with Burrow, we definitely need to look for Tyler Boyd a little bit later on. If we don't get Tyler Boyd, instead we could potentially bring in Hayden Hurst. And actually, Tyler Boyd went at pick 99 here. I think usually Tyler Boyd actually goes behind this Allen Lazard and Christian Watson pairing, but it is what it is. We still have Mixon. We still have our primary double stack with Kansas City Chiefs offense, and we could still be looking at Hayden Hurst if the value is there. Williams has the talent. The issue is obviously he's going to miss the beginning part of the season. I mean, he tore his ACL after someone like Chris Godwin. And at the same time, this is a wide receiver playing for Detroit who signed DJ Chark to a $10 million contract. Amon-Ra St. Brown looked very good. They have TJ Hawkinson. They have DeAndre Swift. They have so many top tier weapons. The issue is, can Jared Goff get them there? Which I honestly don't know. Okay, so Mike Gesicki goes at the 11:04. Frymuth, the 11:05. Whenever we have Mahomes, probably a good thing for us to see those players going. And I know a lot of people are going to be screaming, oh, let's go Mecole Hardman here. Let's bring in Mecole Hardman. Let's get the triple stack with Kansas City. At some point, I'm like, you know what? We already have the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I don't want to continue to just turn this team literally halfway into the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that we would rather have some one-offs, specifically for those spike weeks near the very end. So if we have a Rashad Penny making it, if we have a Rondale Moore making it, I would be a lot more excited about those two players than I would with someone like Mecole Hardman. And I honestly probably would pass on Mecole Hardman in favor of some of these running backs here. Let's see. Get these quarterbacks on the board. Hey, Stiflin, whatever your name is, take Justin Fields. He goes Rondale Moore. That sucks. Rashad White is off. This team, Real Nick, has 4 running backs already with Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Cordell Patterson, and Damien Harris. So there's a chance that they're just done drafting RB, and we're going to get Rashad Penny at pick 130, ADP at pick 117, fitting our build. Someone that I don't expect to have a very large role by the time we get to the end of the season. Obviously, that job will be Kenneth Walker's, but I want to say this is value if we're getting him at the 11-12 turn over a round past his ADP. Okay. And we're still going to draft 5 RBs regardless. Jarvis Landry at pick 131. You know what? I'm not doing it to bring in the correlation with the Kansas City Chiefs offense, but I'm honestly just doing it because I think they are the best values on the board right now. I'd be fine with either Mecole Hardman or Ronald Jones making it back. Hopefully we see this team. No. Take Justin Fields. Come on. You only have one QB. Do either of y'all have Darnell Mooney? Looks like they don't. It would have been nice to see them go Justin Fields. It is what it is, though. I mean, when they passed on Aaron Rodgers at the turn there, I mean, they could have had the Aaron Rodgers, Christian Watson stack. Not too surprised to see them pass on quarterback. Okay, finally you get Fields off the board. This team does not have Waddle, so I would be pretty surprised if they went to they go Nyheim Hines. So let's go through. Let's take Ronald Jones. I mean, I really like the idea of just taking committee running backs on offenses that are going to put up a lot of points. Looks like this team that we have drafted so far is literally just called the bad players in a good offense. We are betting on some quarterbacks here. We're betting that Mahomes is able to elevate the play of some of these bad guys in Kansas City. We're hoping that you can have Aaron Rodgers elevating the play of Allen Lazard and Chris Watson. I actually really like this team. I think this is a fine construction. We have some wide receivers going off the board directly after. With our wide receiver core, I think we're going to be drafting 9, as I already said, so I'm fine seeing these wide receivers go. I think that we are fine with the quantity that we have. And let's try to see some quarterbacks and tight ends. Jacoby Myers at pick 138. Robert Tonyan, pick 139. The player that last year I was making fun of everybody for drafting. Every time we saw Robert Tonyan go off the board, I just shook my head, threw a little fit, and went, oh my gosh, this person has no idea what they're doing. But Robert Tonyan, his price is a lot cheaper this offseason than where it was last year. And his situation is significantly better. Now you have no Davante Adams there. Davante Adams, the best red zone receiver in the entire NFL, now gone. Now if you want to project Robert Tonyan to have an elite touchdown rate, hell, I'm fine with it. I think you actually see the air yards, the target share, and the touchdown rate all go up for Robert Tonyan this upcoming season. So I was hating on him last year, but this year, I think he's a fine pick now that his ADP has gone down and he's in a better situation. Okay, so Dameon Pierce makes it all the way down to pick 142. Someone that you could clearly tell was trending downwards in drafts about a month ago, when every single time you were on the clock, you would go, oh my God, Dameon Pierce is the best player available according to ADP. And this is the 5th draft in a row I've been looking at my pick in the 11th round, and Dameon Pierce is sitting at their top of ADP. Nobody would take him at ADP. I don't know how he maintained a spot that high for so long. I'll say at pick 142, Dameon Pierce, probably a pretty damn good value. If you're just looking at the fact that, hell, they have nobody else to throw the ball to in Houston. They have nobody to give carries to. Dameon Pierce can be a capable pass catching running back, which you really like to see. And Marlon Mack, if you look at the efficiency on a per touch basis this past year, I mean, it fell off a cliff. Now, we have this team from the 101 without a single tight end and a single quarterback so far. They've taken Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams, Alexander Mattison, and Ramondre Stevenson at running back. So I'd imagine that they are done at the running back position with those 5. And then at wide receiver, they have Metcalf, McLaurin, Treylon Burks, Adam Thielen, Kadarius Toney, Chase Claypool, KJ Osborne, and then they just take Albert O at tight end. So it will be interesting to see that team. I want to see that team at the very end of this draft. Okay, we have some more tight ends and quarterbacks going off the board here, which is exactly what we needed. This is what we wanted to see when we pulled up this draft board again. We wanted to see just running backs and receivers. And honestly, if Cole Kmet makes it to us, y'all know I'm a Cole Kmet fan. I think if you look at the opportunity that's available in Chicago and you look at the target share that he commanded his second season in the NFL, the touchdown rate will come up. Like, he will start scoring touchdowns. He scored none last season, but honestly, if anything, he just got a little unlucky. Joshua Palmer goes at pick 150. We have 5 wide receivers. Our 5 wide receivers are Diontae, Chris Godwin, Sky Moore, Allen Lazard, Christian Watson. So definitely a bad wide receiver core. But like I said, we are going quantity over quality. Okay, so this team has 7 wide receivers, 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 3 running backs. They go Hunter Henry. Good for us. Honestly, I would be fine taking a tight end in Cole Kmet. Michael Carter off. Do we go ahead and take Darrell Henderson as the last running back in this tier? We are going to get one of these wide receivers making it back to us. We took Kelsey, so we have the elite tight end regardless. So let's go Darrell Henderson so we can officially stop drafting running backs at 5. So our running back room will be Mixon, Montgomery, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones, and Darrell Henderson. So we have our 2 3-down bell cows, and then we are going to be looking at our 3 committee running backs that have upside for a 3-down role if another player in their backfield goes down. We have the 2 elite quarterbacks from Mahomes and Burrow. Now we just need to build wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Hopefully we get one of these guys making it to us. If they don't, it's going to be a ton of pain. I would love DJ Chark, because if we're looking at Chris Godwin missing the beginning part of the season, Chark should have a pretty large role in Detroit with no Jameson Williams there at the beginning part of the season as well. So I think the natural overlay that we would have for DJ Chark to cover up for some of that production that we would lack from those rookies and Chris Godwin at the beginning of the season would be pretty nice. Okay, James Robinson goes to pick 157. Definitely prefer someone like Darrell Henderson over James Robinson. Okay, so clueless on the clock. 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 4 running backs. Come on, grab Matt Ryan here. Get Matt Ryan. Take him off. Get Zach Wilson. Get Daniel Jones. Any of these QBs.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
They go freaking DJ Chark as their 8th wide receiver. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Corey Davis. I don't think we have much of an option. I mean, if you look at this wide receiver room so far, we've already built through Sky Moore, Christian Watson as a couple of rookies that are probably not going to be hyper productive at the beginning of the season. On top of that, you're looking at Chris Godwin missing the beginning part of the year as well. So with that lack of production at the beginning of the season, for us to all of a sudden go through and to take someone like George Pickens, it would be a very tough sell. It would be a very tough sell. So hopefully we get some of these quarterbacks and running backs off the board. Like I said, we're done drafting running backs. We are just wide receivers through the next 4 rounds. We're going to grab 1 tight end as well, just to be that backup to Travis Kelce. Donovan Peoples-Jones goes at pick 163. Daniel Jones, pick 164. Good to see Daniel Jones off the board. Get these quarterbacks. Continue to draft these guys. We should see Eagles probably go back-to-back quarterback here at the 14-15 turn, considering that they don't have a single guy yet. Tyrion Davis-Price, pick 166. I like Tyrion Davis-Price. I think he should be going ahead of Gus Edwards in these drafts, just because Tyrion Davis-Price, he has upside to be a receiving running back as well, where we know that Gus Edwards, even if J.K. Dobbins were to go down, Gus Edwards is never going to catch passes. Okay, so Zach Wilson goes at the 14-11. Good for us. Now, Eagles may really feel the pressure that they have to grab 2 quarterbacks whenever you're seeing these other teams right before them. Take 2. Remember, they are not picking. They're just going through and queuing guys up. They go Tyler Higbee. Okay, so they still need a tight end. Are they really going to pass on Ryan here? I know they know what they're doing. I see them in these drafts literally all the time. Like every other draft that I'm in, I swear to God, Eagles is in here. If they pass on Matt Ryan, I have no idea what they're doing. or any quarterback. They went Noah Fant. They are really punting the quarterback position. So they're going to get 3 guys at the end here.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think McFly, think.
I don't know about that. That seems aggressive. Seems real aggressive. Okay, so pick 178. I think probably we are not going to see the need for us to take a tight end here. Actually, Clueless only has 1. Now, the tight end that they have is Zach Ertz as well, so I think that there's a chance that they end up trying to come away with 3 in this draft. So if there's a tight end that we like on the board at pick 178, we probably should go ahead and draft him, especially I think Clueless already has 8 wide receivers, so I don't think they can go with another receiver. Okay, so Matt Ryan in pick 172. Kenneth Gainwell, good for us. Get Gainwell. I love the Gainwell pick here at 173. I think that is a great value for Gainwell. But we just can't take any more running backs when we need these receivers. Okay, now I know we were saying, oh, well, we can't take the rookie wide receiver in George Pickens because we have too many rookie wide receivers on this team as is. But trust me, if he falls 20 picks past his ADP, we are going to be taking him. And we have Hayden Hurst as well. So you know what we're probably going to do? We will probably pass on Gerald Everett here in favor of Hayden Hurst to get the Joe Burrow stack a little bit later on. So Kendrick Bourne goes at pick 174. I've drafted Will Fuller in so many of these drafts. I've taken Will Fuller in so many of these. Okay, Tannehill off the board. Good. That team has no quarterbacks yet, and this is the page available. Okay, Real Nick goes Pickens. Yeah, there's a very small probability that we are coming away with Pickens. We're going to go Will Fuller, pick 178 for a best ball format. I think that's great. And then we're going to go Hayden Hurst as our next guy. If we don't get Hayden Hurst, we will go ahead and take Gerald Everett. If we don't get either one of those players, we'll take Curtis Samuel and we'll just grab Mr. Taysom Hill at the end. Obviously, you can't be excited about getting Taysom Hill as your tight end too, if that's what it comes to. But Clueless would have to go back-to-back tight ends if that's going to happen. And I imagine he grabs a quarterback here. He goes Curtis Samuel. People are really punting quarterback. I guess actually this team is Lance and Fields, so they're probably done at the position, so he knows he can get a quarterback at pick 182. Okay, Wandale goes to pick 180. And yes, I would prefer Gerald Everett over Hayden Hurst in a vacuum, but when we have Joe Burrow on this team and our only other Cincinnati Bengal is Joe Mixon, I think we do have to go ahead and we have to take Hayden Hurst over Gerald Everett. Clueless. You have 9 wide receivers. You have to take a quarterback here. You have to go QB. I don't think you have an option, big fella. He goes Everett. I mean, he needed another tight end as well. It is what it is. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to take Hayden Hurst. We have two more picks to make in this draft. And if you've enjoyed watching this draft so far, and if you want to go hop into one of these drafts, literally, you can do it any time of the day, at any time you want. Just go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the description of this video or in the live chat or in the comment section. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Not only will they match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100, but you'll get my rankings, you'll get my draft. You will get so freaking much on top of that, and you'll support this channel. Find the link in the description and take advantage of that. Have some fun. Hop into these real money fantasy football drafts. Okay, so we have a wide receiver run happening directly after us. This is no bueno. This is not good. Oh, this is brutal. We need some wide receivers making it to us at the 17-18 turn. Now, we're probably going to try to get some guys that aren't being drafted in every single league. I mean, I would love to go through and maybe take someone like Tyquan Thornton. Someone who, yes, is probably bad. Yes, someone who's not going to get volume, but he should be guaranteed a roster spot this upcoming season based on his draft capital. Not only guaranteed a roster spot based on his draft capital, but have the speed to provide some random spike weeks, primarily drafted by the New England Patriots, just to stretch the field and to take safety attention away. Here, I'm assuming quarterback. I would bet any amount of money Eagles goes quarterback on the turn. If they don't, they're donating their team to the pot. Mac Jones, pick 192. It's either going to be Davis Mills or Carson Wentz with this next one. At least that's what I'm assuming. Let me go through, show off this draft board. He goes Davis Mills. Okay, so I'm assuming he's hoping he gets Carson Wentz in the last round. He doesn't have any stacks available, or he could end up going Kenny Pickett. I mean, he has Claypool. Brian Robinson off the board, 194. Brian Robinson, one of my most drafted running backs in drafts this year. Devin Duvernay goes at pick 196. Y'all know I was looking to get my guy Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay is actually my second most drafted wide receiver so far on Underdog. And you know what? It looks like we may end up going Odell. End up going with some wide receivers that are going to miss the beginning part of the season on a team that has already wide receivers that won't produce right away. So probably not great. Probably not good. But we are looking for those spike weeks at the very end of the year. Hopefully we can just stay afloat at the beginning of the season with this horrendous wide receiver core. Isaiah McKenzie goes pick 200. Odell goes right before us, so we don't have to think about that. Let's go ahead. Let's just take Laviska Shenault. I'm fine, 100% fine, taking Sammy Watkins once we get closer to the season. If you look at the contract for Sammy Watkins, I am worried that you are going to see him as a potential cut candidate before the season kicks off. That's what I'm worried about. So I would rather take these guys that I'm almost guaranteed they're going to make the roster with Tyquan Thornton, with Laviska Shenault. Okay, so Carson Wentz goes here, pick 203. I wonder if that's who they were wanting. I guess they have Christian Kirk. I mean, they invested into Kyler, so it doesn't really matter. They're going with a hyper fragile build. Maybe they grab another running back. I feel like you have to grab another running back when your 4 RBs are James Conner, Kenneth Walker, Melvin Gordon, and Nyheim Hines. Yeah, they go Chris Evans. We're going to go Tyquan Thornton with our last pick, just bringing in a wide receiver that we know is going to be on the team week 1. Probably should see snaps as well. Let me show off the entire draft board for anybody who is confused what we did up until this point. We are going to be drafting from the 110 in this draft. I hope this draft was able to help some of y'all out with my thought process on how we go through and build these rosters, depending on how the board falls to us. But thank you again for being a part of the flock. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you want to get into some real money fantasy football drafts today, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK. That's it. Thank you. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you with the